네, 이제 이 엑스팩터란 단어에 대해서 정리를 해보면서 오해도 많은 것도 사실입니다. 그래서 짐 맥클린 선생님께서 엑스팩터에 관한 오해에 대해서 한번 설명을 해주시도록 하겠습니다. Jim, can you tell us about the myth there is to the X Factor? How it's not just one simple position. So here's the club.
Well, I think the drills exemplified what we're talking about with the X Factor, and it's not a simple one thing. It has a lot to do with flow and lateral motion. And that would mean that the first move as you go away in the backswing is more to the side, with a lot of people are trying to rotate and turn the hips immediately and the shoulders together. So that leads you in many times into a reverse pivot or disconnection in the takeaway. So the step drill that we just did about putting the feet together, remember, we're not going to do this with a driver. You did great hitting the driver, but that takes a lot of time. Just with even just doing a practice swing, like I'm doing right now, where you let the club flow away, you're not pulling it inside. You can start with the club even out here in front. That really gives you the feeling of letting the club swing. And once that club gets away, we're going to take a small step forward and go to the finish. So there's a flowing motion and a lateral motion. So that means there's a move to the right and there's a move to the left. And as you go back in your backswing, I would say the major myth would be trying to rotate and turn everything together right away, which a lot of times leads to weight going forward on the backswing and then going away from the target on the way back. So that, I would say that would be number one. The other thing that would be, if I could just say one more thing, and that would be on the backswing, it's okay to lift your front heel. For me, as a right-hander, my left heel, it's okay for that to come off the ground, but I don't want your knees to collapse together, that it would be the left heel moving so you could feel weight moving to the right and then putting that heel back down on the ground to start the downswings. That's pretty old teaching, but that's never going to go away. So that feeling of moving a little lateral on the backswing before we start rotating everything together and then going forward on the downswing. And I like the idea of using the ground, the little sit-down move, the squat move, which also keeps me in my posture. I'm not going to go up and move inward on my downswing. I'm going to stay down with my hips back as I start the downswing. So again, there's a lot of information in the book. The main idea with the X Factor, of course, was that the shoulders outturn the hips on the backswing and the lower body starts the downswing. That's the key move in the book.
You talked about Keegan Bradley and how he was turning so flat with his shoulders that it was leading to, the path that's too far in and out. Mm-hmm. What has Keegan's flat turn have got to do with that? Didn't he turn a lot and resist a lot? What would you say to that, the importance of the angles?
So to capsulize Keegan's move, and some people would say, well, he made a big shoulder turn and he had lower body resistance. But the problem was this flat shoulder turn, and that got him around with his upper center, the sternum, moving too far to the right and creating a major angle between lower center and upper center. So now he's got the club going around too much on his backswing. Yes, it's a big shoulder turn, but remember on the shoulder turn, as we rotate back, the left shoulder is going down and the right shoulder is going up. Joseph did that really nice drill with the right arm and the right shoulder going up in the backswing. So it's very important that you know that this right shoulder is going up behind your right ear on the backswing for a right-hander. So you're getting this movement going back. Keegan was getting too much around and getting too flat, too high with the left shoulder going back, and that made him too much inside out on the way through. So I hope that explains, Joseph, what I did with Keegan right from the beginning before he was on the PGA Tour.
또 무조건 어깨를 많이 돌고 어깨랑 골반의 각도가 차이가 나면 엑스팩터가 생기니까 좋다 이렇게만
네.
또 생각해서는 안 되네요. 진짜 그 메이저 챔피언인 키건 브래들리도 그것을 그냥 늘리면 된다고만 생각하고
네.
좋은 어깨턴이라고 생각을 했다가 오히려 큰 훅 미스로 이어졌다고
Some
하는데
people could go too much the other way. You know, it can be too much of either thing.
근데 어떤 골퍼들은 또 키건 브래들리와 반대로 큰 어깨턴을 만들면 좋다고 생각을 해서 엑스펙터가 크면 좋다고 생각해서 또 이렇게 너무 많이 넣는 경우도 많다고요. 그래서 제가 오늘 들어보니까 정말 중요한 것은 그 엑스펙터라는 단어와 엑스펙터와 이 꼬임에 연관이 있다. 딱 이 문장만으로는 설명이 안 되고
네.
결론적으로는 이 시작부터 끝 부분 중에 중요한 부분인 크게 중요한 부분인 그 전환이 결국엔 엑스펙터이지 그렇다고 해서 앞과 뒤가 무작정 엑스펙터만 크게 만든다고 이
이렇게,
각도나 스윙의 그런 기본기를 신경 쓰지 않으면 안 된다라는 게 주요 레슨 포인트 같아요. 저도 오늘 그런 것을 굉장히 많이 느꼈어요.
근데 그러면 이 어떤 사람은 각도가 큰 게 좋을 수도 있고 어떤 사람은 그렇지 않을 수도 있는데 그거를 좀 스스로 어떻게 판단을 할까요?
So that's a very good question. How do we know what's too much and what's too little? If you put the club on your shoulders and you make a turn back, you're going to be able to see where the club's pointed. And if you're pointing the club at the golf ball, that's too steep. And if you're pointing the club more horizontal to the ground, that's obviously too flat. So really where it does point, if I got the golf ball here at my target line, my club's going to point about 6 feet to 8 feet. I guess you're using meters, but pointing out in that zone right here. And then you're going to be approximately right. This would be too flat, and that's too steep. So I'm using an area out in front of the golf ball when I'm teaching this motion, which you see a lot of amateurs do on a range, and they do, you know, things like this, or they do really bad movements. It's not that difficult to practice this correctly, but so many people are too steep with their shoulder turn, and then Keegan was just too flat, and he was pointing the club maybe 12 feet out in front of him, out like this, and you know that was causing him a lot of trouble, especially with moving his upper center too far away on the backswing and making him inconsistent.